I will not talk to you on my vacation. Yes, now I'm going to be talking to him.
How soon are you talking to Xi?
I ain't telling you.
Have you made up your mind on China tariffs, sir?
We're in the process of doing that.
You're lifting the tariffs?
We're in the process of making up my mind.
Okay.
Prepared to sign it, and I'm ready to go.
The staff seems overly protective of him.
Yeah, there's no question. And that's part of the reason he's out front so little. He's done such a tiny number of recent interviews. And now, of course, in this AP interview, the message that he's sending, that people are highlighting, is that he's recognizing that there's a lot of pain and suffering in this country.
Giving people a little Jimmy Carter flashback, a word he never actually said, but malaise, his infamous malaise speech.
And that's something that senior White House staff are acutely aware of.
You know, the Wall Street Journal reported this morning that 44% of economists expect a recession in the next year. Is that what you expect as well?
Well, I expect the economy to slow. It's been growing at a very rapid rate as the labor market has recovered and we have reached full employment. Well, I don't think that policies are responsible for what's happening in the oil market. Consumption of gas and fuels are currently at lower levels than pre-pandemic. And what's happened is that production has gone down. Refinery capacity has declined in the United States and oil production has declined.
If we can do a package like that, we can move forward in the near future. It will not only help in lowering prices, but it will send a signal to the markets and the global economy that the United States is really deadly serious about taking on this inflation.
Hiking taxes isn't going to change the price of milk. When and how are you actually putting forward this package?
The package has been debated. It's been worked through.
It failed back when Build Back Better's version of it. So if inflation is the number one priority right now, when are you scheduling a vote to do the things you just laid out?
We're working very closely with congressional leadership, with Senate leadership on that.
On Friday, he said, quote, "I'm not going to meet with Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman. I'm going to an international meeting and he's going to be part of it." Can you clarify this? Is he going to meet with the Saudi Crown Prince to talk about oil prices or not?
Well, he's going for the purpose of this international conference. But I know that he will. I think he will meet with the Saudi Crown Prince. He has asked for all suppliers around the globe to increase production. That includes OPEC. That includes our domestic oil and gas producers. He is asking for an increase, like other leaders around the globe are increasing.
So they will have a one-on-one meeting?
That's my understanding, that he will be meeting, but there's a series of meetings around energy overall. The Saudis are very interested, for example, in developing an expertise around hydrogen, clean hydrogen production. So I think there's a series of topics related to energy on the table.
So a number of economists, I want to put up a chart of inflation here for our audience to see, measured by the Consumer Price Index. So from the beginning of the pandemic through now, and as you can see, the tick up began a good year before the war in Ukraine began. A number of economists, including at the San Francisco Fed, have said that the tremendous fiscal spending that went underway, the $6 trillion in 2 years, did add to that, including, as you can see right on there, the $2 trillion that the Biden administration pushed through in the spring of 2021. So when people look at that and they say, well, the White House told us that inflation would be transitory. The White House told us we could go through with this kind of spending and we'd be fine, even when Democrats within your own party were warning this would add to inflation. How do you win credibility here to the public and say this time we're not wrong?
And Putin. We're seeing this everywhere. It is a global phenomenon. As I mentioned, in the UK, inflation's hit 9%.
Right.
In
but
Europe,
the point
it's
is,
hit
those
over.
are the things you can't control. I'm talking about the things you can.
Absolutely.
So how do you win that credibility back?
Well, if we look at the things that we can control, we win credibility by taking action. This president is acting.
The former Treasury Secretary Larry Summers, he said to me on the show last week that there is certainly a risk of a recession in the next year. Are you and the Biden administration taking preventative steps in case that happens?
Oh, for sure. I mean, the president is really focused on preventing these inflationary increases to the extent he can. Inflation obviously is happening globally. A recession is not inevitable. The president really wants to have a steady and stable recovery. But of course, one of the biggest pieces of these inflationary increases that we're seeing is the price of fuel.
Economy, they clearly don't, though.
Well, look, we get it. When you drive up to the pump and you see the prices that we have today, it creates uncertainty and it creates real economic hardship. But at the same time, it is important as Americans that we recognize the unique strengths that we have in this economy. In the near term, the companies have a very powerful market incentive. Prices are high and their profit and profit margins are high. And what we are encouraging is that they take those and put those profits to work to increase production. But over the medium term, this is very important. The president's policy has always been a transition to clean energy. And that means building on the strengths of our energy system and also following the science.
I know the president said recession is not inevitable. It seems increasingly probable. The Conference Board put out their survey this week. It shows 8 out of 10 global CEOs now expect a recession within the next 12 to 18 months. So what power does the president have to stop that kind of contraction?
I think where we are in the economy right now is in a transition. And I spoke to CEOs over the course of the past week from sectors across the economy, and they're figuring out how to navigate this transition. Some of this is exactly what we need to see.
They're planning around a recession.
Well, they're planning around transitions in our economy. People are buying less goods, spending time at home. They're spending more on services. That creates some real challenges for some companies and some CEOs.
If your paycheck feels smaller, it probably is. Our economy is racing red hot. With widespread worry, it's careening toward a cliff.
We have both the tools we need and the resolve that it will take to restore price stability.
But beyond raising interest rates, there's much the Fed can't control. The multiple drivers behind the highest rate of inflation in 40 years.
The stock market is dropping again today. How confident are you that the big rate hike yesterday will tamp down on inflation?
So here's what I will say is that we understand what American families are going through. As you know, this has been a priority, bringing down inflation and doing everything that we can.